You know in Peanuts where Lucy holds the football and she's like, come on, Charlie Brown, just come and kick it. I'll let you kick it. And she pulls it away and she does it every time. I feel like that's where we are. I've heard this all before, right? We've been down this road, which is like, oh, the establishment is a little worried about Donald Trump and they'd love to usher him off the stage. Yeah. No kidding. Also, Donald Trump has taken over the entire party. And the most important thing you said in that open, Leland, was this. The base loves Trump. They have zero interest in moving on. What are they? Is all of a sudden Nikki Haley going to lead the establishment out of hiding?
Out of the wilderness, right? Yeah, no.
Right. I have seen.
Yeah, Nikki Haley is going to read. Yeah, Nikki Haley's going to lead the Republicans back from the Greenbrier at their retreat into Washington to retake things. But I just had to do the visual. So I'm thinking about this, though, that there is this middle ground of Republicans, right? There's Glenn Youngkin. There's Brian Kemp, governor of Virginia, governor of Georgia. They have not, in the words of Jonathan Martin, converted to the Church of MAGA.
They have not. I think they mouth, you know, when you're at church, some people sing full voice and some people just kind of mouth the words. I would say they're in the mouth the words category. So it's not as though they are directly opposed to Donald Trump, because we know what happens to those people. Mitt Romney retiring, Liz Cheney out of politics, lost in a primary, Adam Kinzinger retired because he was going to lose in a primary. Like, we know what happens to the loud anti-Trump folks. What they are, and you're right, they do exist, are people who say, yeah, Donald Trump, yep, definitely gonna vote for him. You know what I mean? They're not. They're not.
To be fair, Brian Kemp,
but they're kind of.
Brian Kemp has been a little bit more, but there's this group, right? And this is what Washington is obsessed with, which is this Republicans against Trump, and they now have big ad campaigns going. Take a listen.
And he starts to say these wacky things.
He's not fit to be president of the United States.
A consummate narcissist.
A narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever
Donald
seen.
Trump's literally insane. And I think people are scared of him, and they should be scared of him.
Wholly unfit to be president of the United States in every way you can think of.
All right, an $11.5 million ad buy. So they've got money behind them. Who are these people?
Yep. Look, I think there's a bunch of never Trump people, Republicans, who have access to money, who have lived in Washington for a long time and have access to money. The problem with that ad, though, Leland, is the people who are going to nod along with that are never going to vote for Donald Trump anyway, right? And I don't know that it changes the mind of the undecided voter, which, again, we always talk about this. We have to keep an eye on that. Donald Trump is going to get 46% of the vote. Kamala Harris is going to get 46% of the vote. This bottle of water would get 46% of the vote if it was one of the two major party nominees. That's just where we are in politics. We're talking about a very slim number of people. And to be honest, like Adam Kinzinger saying that Donald Trump is insane, I just don't think that if you already thought that, you're not going to be for him. You're not going to hear that ad and be like, wait a minute, Donald Trump is insane?
Oh, boy.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't get it. It's not a persuasion tactic.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fabulous point. And you think about that article, and I understand why Jonathan Martin wrote it. He's a friend. He's a phenomenal reporter. And obviously
Great
got
reporter
an enormous
and a friend
amount
of mine, too.
Yeah, got an enormous amount of pickup, and look, that's what reporters do. They write provocative stories, but it hits the nail on the head, right, of this sense in Washington that so many just wish Trump gone. I heard this in 2016, right? Before the 2016 election, you heard, oh, gee, Republicans just want to get rid of the nightmare of Donald Trump and live through the bad dream of Hillary Clinton, and then everything will be sunshine, roses, and unicorns. Which is patently false in this case, right? I mean, you think about Donald Trump, Laura Trump, the co-chair of the RNC, Eric Trump, Vice President Trump Organization Transition Team member, Don Jr. Effectively picked J.D. Vance as the vice president. Then you go Trump acolytes in the GOP. J.D. Vance, Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, Nancy Mace, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Tom Cotton. You certainly have to add Ted Cruz, who has gotten on the Trump train. Who exactly do they think, these imaginary Republicans, who do they think they are going to replace Donald Trump with?
Yeah, that's my thing. So I actually think Jonathan is tapping into a real sentiment. My issue is The sentiment is ridiculous.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.